I don't know. I don't know how he can come back from this. Like, what the fuck? Like, Kendrick Lamar has to be a truly awful person in the way that he has conducted his private affairs for Drake to do some digging and then turn around with like a library of information that Kendrick himself has not reckoned with publicly.
Away and Family Matters is better.
Let's see what ShawnCeeLIVE had to say.
Agree. I think one is clearly, in my opinion, superior to the other. And that's why, like I said, currently I got Kendrick winning outside of these revelations or these potential nukes or bombshells that they might have in their camp. So I've subtracted the revelations and these quote-unquote nukes from the tracks, from both of them, right? Kendrick and the wife abuse allegations, and Drake and his potential daughter, maybe not. Removing both of those bombshells from the tracks, I still have Meet the Grams as a significantly more sinister, sick, underhanded, and twisted.
It's not even a question. He just goes, he guts him up, dude. He fucking gets all up in his guts. He knifes him. He shanks him. He surgically fucking removes different organs while trying to make sure that the body stays alive so we can fucking enjoy the show. Every second of pain. It was devious. It was ominous. It was villainous. It was crazy. Drake did 3 different songs in one, and he spends a whole lot of time like talking shit about other people randomly when he should have been focusing his energy directly at Kendrick Lamar. Basically ends the song by saying some shit about how like Kendrick Lamar is actually embarrassed, like his wife is biracial, blah blah blah, and it's like, or his wife is not you know, his wife is just as black as I am, some shit like that, and he's actually embarrassed by that, and it's like, no, that's not even the case. Only to end up and be only to end up with the bar where he's like, oh yeah, you also are a fucking domestic abuser. Guess what? Meanwhile, Kendrick Lamar addressed his entire lineage, said, I will be the father that stepped up. I am not the stepfather. I am the father that stepped up.
Record for a rapper to come out and rap at a 5-year-old Adonis and say, I could be a better mentor for you than your father could. He's failed you. Your whole family failed you. Saying to Sandy that, or Sandra, whatever her name is, whatever the fuck Drake's.
This is where he's right. This is where like Drake's character versus Kendrick's character also comes into play. What's Drake gonna do in retort? Come to me, baby. I will have sex with you. You've seen the slinky. Is that what his retort is gonna be? He's gonna be like, what can he do? He can't be like, I'm gonna be a better dad to your children. Kendrick has the upper hand there. He's just, is he gonna be like, hey, listen, I'm not short. I'm not a short man. I'm a tall man, and I got a slinky dick. Whitney, please. Like, is that what his retort is gonna be? Like, this is what I mean. He's just, he can't. The character flaws are so fucking apparent, so visible, and so perfectly weaponized against Drake in this song. Did you have to say that, dog? I'm just saying, like, he has nothing. What can he do? What can he say in retaliation that would be just as aggressive?
His mom is.
No, not Sandra. Sandra is his mom. I'm saying that, like, to Whitney, he brought up Kendrick's wife. He brought up Kendrick's wife. What is he supposed to say? He literally said, and this is also false, you don't plant money trees in Compton, implying that Drake, or not Drake, sorry, implying that Kendrick Lamar has not given back to where he's from, which is objectively false. Like, every single line of attack against Kendrick's character that's supposed to be like damning, with the exception of like, potentially domestic abuse, the domestic abuse allegations, if they are true, that is pretty fucking damning. But everything else is pretty ridiculous, bro. He said, Baby Keem ghost wrote your bars. Baby Keem was a fucking baby, like a literal baby, not in the my name is Baby Keem type way, an actual fucking goo goo gaga child. When To Pimp a Butterfly came out, he was doing goo goo gaga. He was doing Minecraft videos. What do you mean he co-authored your bars? He was running around being like, I'm literally 12. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like a lot of the lines of attack are just like so ridiculous. Baby Keem did write a lot for K-Dot. I know. He did. And he got writing credits for it. So it's like literally not even fucking ghost writer status in that situation. And I do think Baby Keem is great. I do. But it's like funny to say that like the most cherished, most celebrated work of Kendrick Lamar is in the past at this point. And he's saying that Baby Keem is responsible for your best work is ridiculous.
Is saying that your son failed you as a son, even though I know you might have failed him as a mom, and the father failed him as a father, and
yeah, he came after his whole lineage,
failing you as a son. Like, it's just like the whole family full of failures is what Kendrick is trying to allude to, and the issues that I guess he sees with Drake manifest in such a deeper way than anything else thus far. It's a very
Bro, I don't know. Lil Wayne wrote some of his best shit at 12, 14. Bro, you are fucking insane. Come on, chatters. Are we really unironically trying to say that Baby Keem wrote the best bars for Kendrick Lamar when he was 12? Bro, really? Baby Keem was tapped in? At the age of 12, Baby Keem had this profound ability to fucking write verses around like intergenerational trauma that African descendants of slaves have experienced and shit. Like, what are we saying? What is going on right now? He was playing Minecraft. He was doing Minecraft YouTube videos. What are you saying?
Uncomfortable listen, and I haven't ever really felt that way when I've listened to diss records. You know what I'm saying? I haven't really felt that way when I was listening to what I was supposed to, I guess, digest as entertainment from people battling. You know what I'm saying? I never felt that uncomfortable before. Drake could play the angle that I don't really know what the fuck Kendrick is talking about. I could just downplay this track. I didn't even got to be that deep. But I think they're playing to completely different perspectives here, because the things that Drake values aren't necessarily the things that Kendrick values. So what they're going at isn't going to hit one another the same way. Drake would have needed, for it to be convincing for me, Drake would have needed to have had a history of advocating against violence against women, to use it as a point of contention, outside of just breaking up Kendrick Lamar's character, if he thought that to be true, for me to believe that, okay, this is something that bro actually cares about too. It would hit harder.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it don't have to be
we know what Drake's opinion on the matter is. So it's like wild. Like, a lot of people have said, like, okay, well, Kendrick Lamar has defended R. Kelly, which I thought as well, but turns out it was a record label decision and not directed by him. It could have still been directed by him, but even in that situation for R. Kelly, or for having Kodak on the album, like, considering that his entire work is dedicated to like redemption, even including when he's talking about Drake, even though he's also simultaneously saying like you should die, you writing law, no, you can still, like, while that is hypocritical, ultimately, I don't disagree with you on that front. You can still say that it is more so about potential. It is more so about a potential for redemption for everyone, especially black men that have been destroyed by the criminal justice system. Whereas like Drake has never even remotely talked about caring about rehabilitation, caring about black people in that same way. No, not redemption for R. Kelly. I'm talking about like not letting black artists like have other aspects of their discography be tarnished with their actions, which I don't agree with, for the record. I don't, even if that was the case, that even if there was an avenue for Kendrick Lamar to say that, like, we don't do this for white artists, why the fuck are we doing this for black artists? is specifically what he could be saying in that situation. Like, we don't take down white artists for literally fucking doing entire songs about wanting to fuck 14-year-olds, but then like R. Kelly goes to prison for literally doing that, and then we turn around and we're like, we're gonna delete their entire discography. This is a double standard in the industry, which is real. I don't agree. I think that, you know, it's understandable to do that across the board. And that was, at the time, that was definitely the attitude, which was like, hold up, we're doing this to R. Kelly. Elvis Presley literally fucking dated and married a 14-year-old, and so many cherished white musicians. So many cherished white musicians have straight up like talked about and sung about, like wrote songs about fucking 14-year-olds, like straight up. Some of your parents' favorite songs are about fucking 14-year-olds, okay? Anyway, regardless, the point is, there's still like something to be said about the double standard. He can at least like say something along those lines, even though I think it's like still ridiculous to go out to bat for R. Kelly in any capacity, considering that his victims are some of the most overlooked people in American society, black women. And that's why he was able to get away with his criminal enterprise for as long as he did, because nobody gives a shit about black women when they are the victims. So no, I have no, Kendrick's not a good person, Lamau. Kendrick's an anti-Semite. Okay, dude. Yeah, you got it. You're good. Okay. You did it. Bro, keep stretching, okay? Keep stretching. You will throw your back out, okay? Ultimately, you think Drake is responding? I mean, maybe. Or maybe he just puts out another fucking incredible top 40 album or some shit and people forget about it a couple years later. But I think he will respond, because this is like real aggro shit.
Prerequisite. It doesn't. But it would hit harder. It would make it more poignant. It would make it more effective. I'm canceling their allegations out and just looking at the tracks for what they are, and me considering like what the more disrespectful, more effective record is. Drake not winning, but I will admit he given us some of his best rap flows. I agree with that. Rapping flows, which I ain't heard in a long time. Last track was good, though. I won't cap Bikini Up. I agree with that. I agree with that. This is actually bringing out, I think, a good side of Drake in terms of his rapping ability. You know what I'm saying? In terms of his focus and drive and things like that, it's bringing out a level of Drake that I think a lot of people thought wouldn't be able to compete. It's the tones being completely different in those records that really gets me, because you're left with this impression that Drake came into this expecting it to go one way, and Kendrick is coming at it from a completely different angle, like a much more serious and sinister angle from Kendrick, as opposed to Drake taking the more, you kind of a bitch, homie. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Drake is still, I feel like, not taking this as seriously as Kendrick is, partially because maybe he doesn't look at the things that Kendrick values as valuable, but Drake is still, you know what I'm saying? He's not in that bag yet. Kendrick arrived at a destination already, and he's there. And I'm waiting for Drake to arrive at that same destination, but I don't feel the same seriousness and tone that I do with Kendrick, those last couple records that I heard from him. I think everything that Kendrick is talking about, he actually genuinely has a problem with. And that's the thing that really is getting to me when it comes to Drake and Kendrick right now, because
Shawn C, another person who has an open invitation to come on the HasanAbi broadcast. Shawn C, you are wonderful. It would be great to collaborate with you. You're great.
Kendrick is alluding to, and even the public is alluding to and confirming, that Drake wanted Kendrick on first-person shooter or some other feature. But meanwhile, he's saying I've been waiting on this diss in this battle for over a decade. He's saying that I've been waiting for this for over a decade, but you wanted him on a feature. That's weirdo shit. Why would you invite a nigga who you got a problem with, supposedly, to do a song with you? And so when I'm looking at this from Kendrick's perspective, you could say he's taking it too seriously, but I don't think that I think he's always I think he's been looking at Drake like this. And the thing that makes it hit harder, and the thing that makes me respect Kendrick's perspective a bit more, is that number one, has been consistent. I haven't seen Kendrick not handle this in a way that required the seriousness that it seems that he's taken from this. He thinks that Drake is a bitch. He thinks he's a horrible person. He don't want to be around him. He don't want to do features with him. He don't want to do music with him. They're in completely different lanes right now in terms of how they view one another. He doesn't respect him whatsoever. Even when y'all see him parading around with Sexy Red, it's like, I'm not trying to get parasocial or get into the minds of their relationships or anything like that. I'm just saying the way he attaches himself to different people so easily adds to this point that Kendrick Lamar is talking about, you're fake, or you don't have those genuine connections.
Drake is a terrible person. He ruined hip hop. Come on, bro. It's like saying Mr. Beast ruined YouTube. Like, come on.
Or the people around you.
Just because he's like, he has the formula doesn't change the reality that like people could absolutely fucking be above that.
Don't even really know about you, and they have something that they want to gain from you, or they have they seem to want to do you harm, and you don't even know it because you're just so infatuated with developing all these connections with people. Because a lot of people, you know, that's the funny thing too, a lot of people thought that J. Cole's 7-minute drill song sounded forced and that he wasn't really in it, his heart wasn't really in it. But what do I say about Drake?
I think FD's take on that is his most uncle take. That's a very unk take. This FD saying that Drake ruined hip hop. I mean, he knows more than I do, but I do think that, like, I don't think hip hop is ruined. I think it is like transformed. You know what I mean? I think that also one could even say that he's pop anyway.
If he's inviting Kendrick Lamar to do a song with him and J. Cole, despite telling other people that I have been waiting for this beef for 10 years, what do I say about Drake? If y'all are saying that J. Cole didn't seem to really be in it and he seemed to be forcing it. Kendrick is the only one out of all of them that's been consistent with his emotion in regards to his position in rap, in regards to his feelings on Drake. I'm not counting him out, but Drake isn't on that level of psychological warfare, I don't think. He does not hate the nigga enough. That's what I'm saying. It's the same shit with J. Cole. There's no genuine, I don't feel like there's any genuine deep-seated hatred of Kendrick Lamar on Drake's behalf. So they'll never match energies. Drake genuinely seemed upset and angry when he replied to Pusha T and when he was replying to Kanye. He genuinely seemed upset. This nigga said, tired of sitting quiet and helping my enemies eat. When he said that, I heard the pain in the nigga voice. It don't feel the same. Especially after that last track. The Family Matters track really gets me into this frame of mind where I'm like, I don't feel it. I don't feel like I don't feel like your heart.
Yeah, this ruined hip hop, that ruined hip hop is always like the old generation, like the old head attitude. It's the same as like people saying the greatest era of basketball was this era, and that like people that came after are just nowhere near as good. It's the MJ LeBron argument, and it will be inevitably the LeBron Wemby argument. You know what I mean? It's always the same shit. It's people that experience their adolescence and their childhood, people that experience their like favorite era, because like the way that they analyze things were different when they had childlike wonder in their consumption, always end up thinking that like it was the best era and it will never be like that. And the reality is that it always improves. It always gets better. I think like Someone in the chat brought up that old heads used to say that like gangster rap ruined hip hop. It's just nostalgia for the most part. No, if he was saying this beef, not Drake, killed hip hop. Wait, what?
Anyway. Really in this, or at the very least, I don't feel like you have a problem with all the things that you are saying that are problematic for Kendrick as you may pretend to for the track. I feel like you might not even care about these things that you're talking about. On your own, you don't look at them as that big of a deal, and you got to make them work because it's against Kendrick. But on your own, do you have issues with these things? I don't know. For Kendrick, on his own, he has issues with all the things that Drake is. That's why it comes off and manifests in such a disgusting way on the tracks that he's released. But with Drake, it don't feel that way. And maybe that's just a difference in their emotion. Maybe that's a difference in their
Kendrick and Drake, really the Messi and Ronaldo rap. Kendrick is short and Drake is a rapist. That's a Messi fan right there.
Their performance. Kendrick's always been a very good performer. You know what I'm saying? I don't doubt that even if Drake was passionate about something, we might not get the full effect of it because he doesn't perform those tracks with the level of intensity that I think they require or demand, which to me would have made that last track that he dropped a lot more significantly hard-hitting. Why is it a knock against Drake that Kendrick hates him more? It's not a knock against Drake that Kendrick hates him more. It's a knock against Drake that it doesn't appear as if he comes with this or at this with the same level of passion that Kendrick is. So it makes Kendrick's words hit harder when I'm listening to Drake melodic.
I kind of understand what he's saying. I mean, I agree. He's also, I mean, I don't know if it's just like very Drake of him to do this in the way, but like even the fact that he like is still not directly addressing Kendrick Lamar, trying to cut into Kendrick Lamar, and instead talking about A$AP Rocky, talking about fucking Rihanna, talking about still hitting Ricardo Ross, the Teflon Don, and many others in his diss track, The Weeknd. Like, he almost had the same amount of time dedicated to The Weeknd as he did to Kendrick Lamar in a Kendrick Lamar diss. It's like, it feels like, I don't know. It just feels like he's doing this because like he wants to put a hit out there and he wants to maintain, like, obviously he wants to keep the momentum, but he's not like super invested in it. Would you say that the next Drake reply will solidify everything? I don't even know how he can reply to this. I don't know. I don't know how he can come back from this. Like, what the fuck? Like, Kendrick Lamar has to be a truly awful person in the way that he has conducted his private affairs for Drake to do some digging and then turn around with like a library of information that Kendrick himself has not reckoned with publicly. You know what I mean? Because like he can't keep calling him short. Like, he called him a midget in the first song, and then he just kept calling him short. And it's just like, I don't know if there's any way out of this. He said that. He used the M word. And Drake's not even tall. No, he is. He's like over 6 foot. He said he's a domestic abuser. But if that's like he has to, like, basically he would need to get like Whitney on the song or something. You know what I mean? Or like collect a phone conversation that, like, leak a phone conversation between like Whitney and Kendrick Lamar or something that like solidifies how harmed she was by his actions or something, in order for this to be like a solid enough retort after what Kendrick Lamar did. He said his son not his too. Yeah, that stuff is, I mean, I guess like he could find some proof of that too. I didn't even take that seriously, to be fair. I don't You're right. Maybe it is true. I didn't even think about that. But even then, that doesn't actually like. I don't even think that would hurt Kendrick Lamar as much as like the fact that potentially he was a domestic abuser. I think that probably hurts him a lot more than the fact that he is like being a good father to someone else's child, even after infidelity. You know what I mean? Like that literally only shows that he's a good guy and not a bad guy. That would not be like that is petty, but that literally helps solidify his image as a father figure, as a good person. It very easily turn around and be like, dude, you're not even fucking a good son, to a good father to your own son. I'm out. And then you're out here talking about how I'm being a great father to other people's sons. That's why I reached out to Adonis directly in the song, and not in a weird way, in the way that you reach out to minors. There you go. You know? It's the entire, I'm not the stepfather, I'm the father that stepped up momentum over and over and over again. Which is pretty funny because like I said, Drake is such a target-rich environment. Drake is such a target-rich environment in his own personal relationships, in the way that he carries himself, in his misconduct on a daily basis, that even his retorts to Kendrick Lamar have basically solidified all of the disses that Kendrick Lamar made towards him. Like, that is what's crazy about it. Like, Drake's response, his retaliation, also led to him shitting on his old friends, saying he would kill whoever the mole is in his group, basically referring to his old friends like, you know, street dudes, right? That in and of itself is so disrespectful to Drake himself. It's not only disrespectful to people like Abel in his life, or who were in his life in the past, but also it reinforces the narrative that Kendrick Lamar is right, to not only say that like you're a bad friend and everybody fucking hates you, everybody in your circle hates you and is like preying on your downfall, but there's they're only there in a transactional way. And also beyond that, you know, saying that you don't speak for the culture and the culture actually finds you to be cringe, in a way where you're just like culture vulture. Like people find you, black people find you to be genuinely stealing black culture and like commodifying it, and not coming at it from a place of like personal experiences. Because, you know, the whole line about like, you rap like you want to free the slaves. Like that is yet another W. It's supposed to be a W for Drake. And maybe white dudes will laugh at that and go, wow, that was so sick. But I feel like that literally proves the point that Kendrick was making. You know what I mean?
Try to ruin Kendrick with a woman beater freestyle almost. And these are things that Drake historically has never cared about, and also doesn't make it a point to passionately deliver on his own records. You don't.
Yeah, Drake fans are saying that the mole is feeding Kendrick bad info.
So it turns.
Wait, which by the way, I will cover. Don't worry. I'm very familiar with what they're saying. I will cover this after I'm done with Sean C. Put some respect on Sean, okay?
I don't even hate this man enough to give him a full track. This is Kendrick Lamar, a nigga that you say you've been waiting on this beef with for 10 years, and you don't even give him a full cut? You talking about your dick on a song. And I get that it's funny, and y'all like the song. I don't even dislike the song. I'm just talking about as a diss, what I feel is being given here, and why I'm giving Kendrick the edge right now. I wanted to talk about the hypocrisies of both of the tracks, right? So the first thing that people would have brought up would have been, Kendrick, you know, you advocated for R. Kelly's music to remain on Spotify.
I brought this as well.
Despite having this stance against people going against underage, you know, people going against, or people going after children, wanting to keep the kids safe, wanting to keep young women safe, wanting to do all of these things. And to that point, I would say, from my remembrance of that whole situation, and I believe that happened somewhere around the time XXXTentacion was making headwaves, I don't recall Kendrick advocating for R. Kelly. I recall Kendrick speaking in reference to the white artists that still had their music on Spotify at the time, and that if you're going to have this stance, you should have it equally across the board. I think that was a lot of people outside of just Kendrick Lamar's point of contention with Spotify.
Drake's about to be like, I killed XXXTentacion because I hate woman beaters. What have you done, Kendrick? Please don't get mad at me. I'm not. That's hypothetical. Is what Drake is not going to say that anyway.
It wasn't just because they wanted R. Kelly's music to stay up or no shit like that. I don't think anybody was unironically defending or trying to come for the decision to potentially get the world away from.
It was more so a joke about the conspiracy theory that Drake is responsible for the assassination of XXXTentacion.
R. Kelly, but it was very clearly.
Why do you want X fans to show up at your house, fam? Brother, at this point, they're too busy working at Jiffy Lube and shit, okay? They have like, they're adults now, and they have jobs, okay? Come on. They're a State Farm, okay? At this point, they're like my age, or maybe a little bit younger.
A double standard and something that didn't seem to be consistently applied across the board musically.
See, it's true. I'm an automation tech now, and a HasanAbi head.
That said, also considering who Spotify is as like a corporation and how often they take advantage of artists, I don't really think they're the.
Okay, I know you banned the guy for asking about G, but it's 6 p.m. here and it's been rap music. This community calls you news monkey behind your back for a reason. Wait. I say that people say that I'm a news monkey and say dance news monkey. Please tell me that's the top of the hour ad break debate. Please. And you're not legitimately upset that I am on a fucking Saturday of all days spending an amount of time, 4 hours and 30 minutes specifically, having fun and also covering like pretty significant cultural stuff, you know? Like, just, we like to look at your ass. That's why it's from behind. Please say that that was a bait, that that was a joke, and that you're trying to serve the 3-minute ad break at the top of the hour. Because that's crazy. I'm not. It wasn't. It was FBI. Hasan's FBI handler. Wait, what? I mistyped. What is happening? I'm confused. Anyway, the 3-minute ad break is at the top of the hour, though. That is happening. I know you banned the guy asking about gaming, but please, at 6 p.m. here, it's been rap music. This community calls you fake gamer behind your back for a reason. Sheltered Rosebud is communicating through other people. She's ghostwriting other people's commentary in the chat now. All right, here's the 3-minute ad break now, by the way. $23,000 viewers, 46,000 faces. I agree. Why do you hate Rosebud so much? I don't hate Rosebud, but they are definitely like a very specific type of chatter that I get very annoyed at. I banned her for a day earlier because immediately, like 20 minutes in, she was like, "Are we gonna get to Gaza? Like, when are we gonna talk about Gaza?" And listen, that's a very important issue that I cover approximately 8 hours a day, Monday through fucking Friday, and sometimes on Saturdays, and also on Sundays too. It is fucking insane to be like, well, sorry, sometimes I can't believe you're covering like pop culture stuff. Like, that's crazy. That's a crazy fucking thing to get upset about. This is a historic beef that is objectively important for many other people. Like, people care about it. You might not personally care about it. You might not be invested in it, but it's probably good for you to, like, at least even on accident, learn a bunch of stuff about what's going on here so that you can have a normal fucking conversation with your peers for once. Okay? It's like a lot of you poo-poo everything that isn't like immediately political, not recognizing that like this is a pretty solid thing to at least know a little bit about, so you can have normal conversations with your peers that don't revolve around mass atrocities that are occurring around the fucking planet, and have them behind your back say that you're kind of a buzzkill. Okay? Diversify your interests a little bit. This has been the first time I've ever heard a Drake or Kendrick song, but I found all of this incredibly interesting. Yeah, it's also coming. I'm also doing this commentary as a person who is, very interested in the subject matter. So I'm at least giving you like additional commentary and all this other extra information. And there's also politics involved in it, specifically racial dynamics, black culture, whatnot. So like, calm down.
The ones that should be morally grandstanding, or like their moral consistency is very out of whack. You know, you can look at their track record and be like, yeah, y'all niggas probably should shut the fuck up. But I don't think that was an endorsement of R. Kelly. But I will say that the Kodak Black inclusion is probably the biggest point of contention that someone could reference. Because although I agree that Kendrick probably wasn't using it to co-sign Kendrick or co-sign Kodak, and he was probably using it as an example or a way to try to recontextualize Kodak to fit the theme and the narrative of the album, you still ultimately ended up most likely paying Kodak for his feature, for his inclusion, supporting someone who had done something so heinous, and then to come out months later talking about how bad touching kids and preying on children or just
that's his major. That is like the most glaringly obvious major counter in the situation that like demonstrates the inconsistency. Unless, I guess, like Kendrick could talk about Trump pardoned him, not a defense, but bigger fish. Dude.
Assault in general is, you know what I'm saying? You referenced that when it came to Baca, I'm assuming, with his alleged, or I don't even know if it's confirmed conviction. I think that that's a big hypocrisy. And I think if Drake was more calculated and he seemed to be an artist that stood for something, he could stand on that hypocrisy as it comes to Kendrick. But the issue that I take with Drake is that I don't think he stands for anything. My issue with Drake comes from this thought that he uses things as like an advantage for diss records. So when I look at some of the information that we got on the call Family Matters, I hear what you're saying. And while I need confirmation of that, of Kendrick potentially abusing his wife, weren't you clowning Megan Thee Stallion for being shot? Weren't you on Tory Lanez's side for that whole debacle?
Yeah, you can't, bro. Like, even the Kodak thing is not as glaringly obvious of a demonstration of hypocrisy as is like, especially because you could say that like it's about possibly trying to take a very complex figure who's done like unimaginable cruelty, awful shit, and saying that like there's still some redemption for him yet, while simultaneously for Drake it's like, no, you just literally fucking made fun of someone who got shot Like, you made fun of a woman, a black woman, who got very publicly shot by Tory Lanez, and you turned around and you made fun of the victim at a time when, like, everyone in the industry, a lot of people, including Zionist even, hate to admit that because I love him, but LeBron James did also kind of, you know, hype up Tory Lanez in that time, and it was, you know, it was giving the misogynistic attitudes, to be fair.
Weren't you like a part of the harassment campaign and the additional shit? Like, I don't think that, and especially with you keeping somebody like Baca in your circle, not even as a feature for an album, but literally in your circle, like somebody that you co-sign, I don't think you care about it to a point where you would bomb drop. I think that with Kendrick, it's a huge point of contention and it's hypocrisy. Don't get me wrong, but I think that there is a stance against it. I feel like he sees something like that and not openly welcome it as a part of his regime. He would denounce it. I mean, it's very clear.
He's talking about Baca, who was, I guess the sex trafficking charges were dropped eventually.
That Kendrick isn't endorsing the behavior. I don't see him and Kodak hanging out, despite how nasty the inclusion of that album really is. If anything, Kendrick exploited Kodak Black, despite it being really shoddy on his own album. And again, I still don't think that that's a great argument, saying that Kendrick is all this intentional artist to a point where, oh, well, he couldn't make a mistake and it's all for the point of the album. I still think that's nasty work, but I give him a little bit of benefit of the doubt in that regard. With Drake,
yeah, the woman refused to testify. In 2014, Baca was arrested on charges of forcing a 22-year-old woman into prostitution and taking her money. In 2015, he pleaded guilty to assaulting the woman and an unrelated weapons charge. He was sentenced. This is Baca Not Nice, a part of OVO. But since he had already done 10 months in custody, he did not serve an additional 6 months. The woman refused to testify, so they had to drop the charges for procuring prostitution and human trafficking. She was working as an escort and had an on and off relationship with Baca. She moved from Toronto by the time the trial was underway. Baca has priors for armed robbery, blah, blah, blah. Upon his release, Drake said when he got out of jail, there was a lot of different paths he could have took, and he decided to focus on music. The idea is that like they paid her off to not testify.
You actually know and hang with these people. You real life be fucking with these niggas, I feel like. Like, yeah, you think the people.
Also, once again, even when we're talking about like a truly horrifying crime, you know, allegedly forcing someone into prostitution, sex trafficking, even then, even when we're talking about that, the criminal justice system stays on top as being the most evil figure in the story. It's crazy. Notice how they fucking kept him in prison for 10 months, even though his sentence for his sentence was supposed to be 6 months. How fucking nutty is that shit? It blows my mind. It honestly blows my fucking mind that, like, with the exception of like literally the worst person you have ever considered, like a serial killer, pedophile, rapist who like cuts babies' heads off and eats them or some shit, with the exception of that like once in a fucking generation criminal, the criminal justice system in and of itself is always doing a metric ton more evil, regardless of the fact that, regardless of who the actual criminals are and what they are doing. It's crazy. That's how, this is not to say that like criminals who have engaged in like heinous acts such as like rape or violent crime, like murder, are good guys. I'm simply saying that the criminal justice system is that bad. Wild.
People care about it, but do you care about it? Would this be in the song, or would this be even in the titling of anything if it was just up to you and it wasn't a spectacle for the fan base and for the people that were listening? Would you even include it? Because I don't think you even care about it. But I do realize and recognize that for the point of a diss and for the point of a battle and for the point of the perception of Kendrick Lamar, it breaks this whole God complex. This is such a perfect guy. We should look up to this person. This is who I want to model my life after ass. You know what I'm saying? It breaks up that facade, or it breaks up that persona. It's not something that I think that he shouldn't use, but it's just something I think he genuinely doesn't care about. What beyond this point a Drake response looks like, I don't know how he's gonna move forward, but it's hard to say. What else? I feel like what else is there to say after this? It's not even about the track being bad. I think the flows on the track were good. I thought Drake's rapping was good. I thought the intro of the track was great. I haven't heard Drake rap like that in God knows how long. But I didn't get anything that was cutting. That's all I'm saying. A track by itself, on its own, I could probably listen to that. If I'm judging it off of a diss.
I don't think he's he's dick riding. I think he's right. Drake is formulaic almost to a fucking fault, dude. He knows how to make hits. He's a hit maker. That's it. It's true. Like musically speaking, obviously Kendrick Lamar still, I think, is better than Drake. But as far as like a listenable song, that's what I said too. It's like this. Like you can't help but do this. No matter what Drake is saying. It's like this. Always.
I didn't really get anything out of it, but a song by itself, it's not a bad Drake song. I never said it was bad. I'm listening for one thing is all I'm saying. This would be a historic track for Kendrick if this ended up being true, but until he can prove anything, like that last part about, you know, you having a daughter in the world, it's surprising, it's shocking, it's crazy to think about, but it don't mean nothing. At least not yet. That shit Kendrick pulled last night was that got me looking at bro different. That was a completely psychological, disrespectful cut. Look, who on top? But who on top, chat? But who?
Yeah, that's the other part that is like the one.